In this video we are going to make a garden gate of this design. This is made from tongue and groove redwood, which goes all the way across. We've got a flexible piece on the top and we've got some 3x2 supports on the back of the gate. This type of gate is expensive to make because of the cost of the actual redwood timber that we've used. But a gate made from redwood timber should last a considerable time as long as it is treated correctly. To make the gate, I'm using tongue and groove, which is 19mm thick, and this is actually redwood. It's not standard pine tongue and groove because that will not last longer outside. This is left to grow much longer than standard pine. It is still a soft wood, but it will last an hell of a lot longer. The difficulty was sourcing the redwood. It is pretty difficult to get hold of. Unfortunately, this was bought in a pack, and on the back it has got grooves down the back of the tongue and groove, which I didn't really want and I didn't really know about until I got home. But it's just one of those things. So I'm going to make a round top gate now using this timber. I've cut the timber to size already, and I am using 3x2 redwood for the braces and the cross sections on the gate. So to construct the gate, I've put all the pieces of tongue and groove together. I've only put them together loosely, they're not nailed or fixed in any way. Across there we put 2 cross members, and then in between that we put a brace. This brace is a little bit short, but it is the maximum length brace that I could cut from the remaining timber that I had left over. So it is a little bit short, but it will still do the trick. We need this gate to be 730mm wide, which means that we need to cut the gate down before we put it together. Because this is tongue and groove, we have a tongue on one side and a groove on the other, so that means that we're going to be cutting down 2 pieces. We don't want a tongue on one end and we don't want a groove on the other end either, because that will trap water. The easiest way to cut a length of timber down its length is by using a rip fence. So I've set the rip fence to the correct distance from the blade there, and the blade is set to the correct depth for cutting through this material. So I can now just go down there and I can use the rip fence to give me a straight cut all the way down that piece of timber. I'm just going to stop there and remove the clamp, and I will put that behind me. I am now going to pull the machine back slightly, and then I'm going to start it off again, and then I'm going to continue with the cut. You can see that the cordless DeWalt circular saw gives us a really good cut on that piece of material. I have now roughly assembled the gate as it's going to be, only I have put the braces on the top of the tongue and groove, whereas they should really be underneath it. I've put the first cross member in position here, and I have checked that it is square using a square. And then I've positioned the top one and I've put the cross brace in position. Now we've got it like this, I am now going to draw in roughly with pencil lines where these cross braces are going. I've positioned this bottom cross brace approximately 90mm from the bottom of the gate. At the top here you may notice there's quite a big gap between the top of that rail and the top of the gate. That's because I will be cutting a radius on there once the gate has been assembled. And then I'm going to move the cross members to the underside of the timber. I have now aligned the 2 pencil marks that I put on here earlier with the cross member. I am now going to drive a single screw into this approximately there. The screws I am using are Turbo Gold XT screws, which are specifically made for use outside. So I'm just going to drive that in there. I'm not going to countersink it yet, that is just holding the first board in position. I've now aligned the cross member at this side, and I am now going to place a second screw in the timber on this side. That will ensure that the cross member is in the exact right position. So now we've put 2 screws in there, that can't move. That is now in a perfect straight line. Once we put these boards back on, we can simply go along there and screw them all in position. I'm now going to split the gate apart. I'm then going to get some external waterproof wood glue, and I'm going to apply that to all surfaces. So I'm going to put some on the cross members and also some in the grooves. So once we've got that edge completely covered, we can then place the board back in, ensuring that we line up the pencil lines that we put on there earlier. If you're struggling getting any of the boards aligned with your pencil marks, you can simply tap them in either direction using a mallet. When you do it though, you've got to make sure that none of your other boards actually move. So I can now put the final piece in this end. We can then check that the cross member at this end is in the exact right position, and we can put a couple of screws in this piece. We can then remove the 4 screws at this side. We can then take this board off. Before applying glue to the final board. We can now place that back in position. You can then take a couple of sash clamps and clamp the whole thing together. Once you've tightened the sash clamps, you can then go along and wipe out any excess glue from between the joints. We can then go along and screw every single board in position. I'm going to put 2 screws in every single board, and we can go all the way along now. The screws that I'm using are cell countersinking, which makes this job a lot easier. We can now remove the sash clamps. And then we can turn the gate over. We can now remove any excess glue from the backside using a damp cloth. I'm now going to put the brace in position, just roughly, and then I'm going to mark the centre, which is approximately there. I've now put some safety glasses on. I'm now going to cut a slot where that mark is using the biscuit joiner. I am now going to do the same in this corner. I'm now going to put a slot in each end of the brace in the position where I marked it before. glue this brace in position. So I'm going to apply a lot of wood glue to the back of it. And then I'm going to apply wood glue for the slots where the biscuits will be going. And then I'll just apply some wood glue to the biscuits. Again, I'll just put some glue on the biscuit. Before slotting that in position. I'll then just add some glue to each end. And we just need to slot that into position. I'm now just going to put a screw in this corner to hold it together. And then we can put another screw down through this brace. You can then wipe any excess glue off. I can now use a long rule on the top of here, and I can position it so that I can mark a line for the diagonal brace. I can now place some screws in that brace. I'm now going to mark the radius for the top of the gate. I've put a mark at each side where I want the radius to start at, which is there and there. I'm now going to put a screw in the end, and I'm ensuring that this screw is on the cut side. So once I've cut this screw all will be cut off. I'm going to do the same at both sides. I'm now going to take a piece of cloaking profile and I'm going to pull that up to the highest point on the gate, which is approximately there. I am then going to draw on the inside of that using a pencil. So I now have a perfect radius marked on there. I can now remove these two screws. I'm now going to cut this out using a jigsaw and a wood cutting blade. When you do this, it's important that you put a pair of safety glasses on. I'm now just going to give this a light sanding. I'm now going to bend the cloaking profile around the top of the gate, and then I can place a mark on it, and that will give me the exact length that I need to cut my capping piece of timber at. I have now cut a strip of wood, which is the correct length to bend around the top of the gate. Although it's a different type of wood, it will protect this vulnerable end grain from soaking in too much water. And this timber is actually also treated. So I'm now going to put a load of external glue on there, and then I'm going to start gluing and screwing this cap onto the top of the gate. had with the first screw. I can now bend that round, ensuring that the line is in the correct place. Now we can wipe off any excess wood glue using a damp rag. The gate is almost finished now, we just need to give it 24 hours for the glue to harden properly. Once that's hardened, we can then give this a couple of coats of wood preserver. Once the wood preserver is dry, we can then apply a suitable outdoor finish. One thing that I should have mentioned is that your brace that goes across the gate starts at the side where your hinges are. So the bottom of the brace goes at the hinge side. So the 2 hinges will go here and the brace goes that way, and that will give it plenty of support. This gate has now had 3 coats of wood preserver. I am now going to take it outside and I'm going to give it 3 coats of Cuprinols Duck's Bag. This is a very good paint for painting on wood, and it lasts for approximately 5 years. So the wood preserver will protect the wood from rot. This will colour the wood, making a nice colour, and that will also help to protect it from the elements.